On October 3rd, the major Western commercial satellite companies finally couldn't resist and began to release the satellite photos after Israel was attacked by the missiles of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Among them, some photos were also cited and made public by the media such as the BBC. However, these companies and the media still understand the politics well. The photos they released were either only a very small part of the Israeli Air Force bases that were attacked, or they were only low-resolution images. This is in a sharp and glaring contrast to the practice of the major commercial satellite companies after the Russian Air Force bases were attacked by Ukrainian drones. They wished to adjust the resolution to the maximum, and even fabricated some results by far-fetched means even if there were no results. This is just like the situation of the satellite perspective after the Tel Nof base was attacked. However, even the relatively low-resolution images are enough for us to evaluate the results of this round of missile attacks by the aerospace force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Analyze and evaluate the strike effectiveness of Iranian missiles, and then discuss how Iran may plan the firepower plan if it implements similar tasks again in the future. According to the satellite images of the Israeli military targets that have been released by the Western commercial satellite companies so far, they are mainly divided into three places. First, the Tel Nof base outside Tel Aviv. This base is the most core Arrow to 3 anti-missile interceptor deployment position for Israel to defend the capital and has a very important strategic position. Second, the Nevatim Air Force Base in Beersheba in southern Israel. This Air Force base deploys F-15I and F-35I fighter jets, and there are also a large number of auxiliary aircraft types. Third, the OVDA Air Force Base in the southernmost part of Israel. This base is not only a civil airport, but also is said to be a second-line airport for the Israeli F-35I fighter jets. In addition, the Ramon Air Force Base, which was listed as a key strike target by the Revolutionary Guard on April 14, does not seem to have been attacked this time. Some clues can also be seen from the satellite image after the OVDA base was attacked. Among the above strike targets, only a very small part of the satellite photos of the Tel Nof base has been released, and a large area is covered by clouds. Obviously, the satellite photos of this base were selectively released, and the key parts that may really have problems were deliberately ignored. Judging from the situation where the Iranian missiles caused a huge explosion at the Tel Nof base on the night of October 1st, and it seemed like there was a solid fuel explosion. Maybe the launchers or storage depots of Arrow to 3 were hit, and now they may be busy cleaning up the wreckage. In general, there are serious problems with the handling of the Tel Nof base by Western commercial satellite photo companies, and they must be covering up something. In fact, with the space reconnaissance capabilities of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations, at least China, the United States, and Russia can call on an optical reconnaissance satellite to take a look. Even if there are clouds, it is no problem at all to call on a synthetic aperture radar imaging satellite to take a look. It just depends on whether they want to. Satellite perspective of the Tel Nof base, obscured by a large number of cloud masses. Subsequently, the satellite photos of the Nevatim Air Force Base located southeast of Beersheba were released. It must be said that Western commercial satellite photo companies are extremely cunning. The released satellite photos are hesitant and slow, since the Nevatim base is a large Air Force base with 3 runways and divided into 2 parts. The currently released photos only contain photos of one part of the base. Satellite image of Nevatim base after being attacked, for example. In the southeastern part of the base, it can be found that an Iranian missile accurately hit the hangar where the only 7 Gulfstream G550 special aircraft of the Israeli army should have been parked. At least 3 missiles hit the runway or taxiway of the base. In the northwestern part of the base, it can be found that to reinforced hangars and AC-130 transport aircraft parking apron and spare parts stayed parked outdoors were hit. Another missile hit the connecting road between the runway and taxiway. Satellite image of Nevatim base after being attacked. In addition, there are at least 2 projectiles that have fallen in the 2 parking areas for F-16I fighter jets in the northern part of the base. The projectiles accurately hit the strong hangars of the F-16I fighter jets. It is not clear whether there were F-16I fighter jets parked inside the hangars at that time. Satellite image of Nevatim base after being attacked except for the Nevatim Air Force Base. The third place where Iranian missiles hit released by Western commercial satellite photo companies is the OVDA Air Force Base in the southernmost part of Israel. Compared with the Nevatim Air Force Base, the number of missiles that hit the OVDA Air Force Base seems to be relatively small, and the craters are not very obvious, but almost all of them hit key targets. On the satellite photos released by Maxa are at present, a total of 8 to 9 missiles hit the OVDA Air Force Base. 1 or 2 accurately hit the tower or pilot preparation room in the center of the base runway. Another 3 precisely hit 3 hangars in the 3 sets of comb-shaped reinforced hangars inside the base, and all of them hit the top of the hangars, with blackened traces after burning. In addition, the affiliated building complex of the base was also hit by at least 3 missiles. 1 hit the open space on the left side of what seems to be the base maintenance depot. 1 hit the outermost parking lot of the base. Another 1 hit a ground crew parking lot in the northeast of the base. No more craters were found at this base. The missile hit rate is still good. So how to evaluate the strike effect of Iranian missiles? How to evaluate the strike effect of the aerospace force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard on these bases this time? In my opinion, it is barely satisfactory and there is still room for improvement. Let's talk about the good aspects first. The good aspect is that the Revolutionary Guard's use of conventional guided missiles to carry out large-scale, concentrated, and intensive assaults this time has proved that conventional ballistic missiles have strong penetration and strike capabilities when facing opponents with relatively limited air defense and anti-missile capabilities. In the face of hundreds of ballistic missiles of the Revolutionary Guard, Israel's few dozens of Arrow 2/3 anti-missile interceptors are like small water pipes and simply cannot stop the tide of Iranian ballistic missiles. And these Iranian ballistic missiles actually have average ballistic performance. The key speed is not fast either. And there is no maneuvering and orbit-changing ability, just relying on brute force. The carefully built anti-missile interception system of Israel was torn apart. This proves the advantage of Iranian conventional missiles in penetration capabilities, especially when facing opponents with relatively balanced tactical aviation forces. The penetration capabilities of conventional missiles are incomparable to those of tactical aviation forces. This is one of the most crucial factors why we have always relied on tactical conventional guided missiles at the same time. In terms of strike accuracy of Iranian tactical missiles, at least some missiles have very high strike accuracy. Especially the conventional missiles that hit the OVDA base almost all hit key parts such as hangars, parking lots, and towers. This proves that the strength of Iranian conventional ballistic missiles is still acceptable. However, for the conventional missiles that hit the Nevatim Air Force Base, a considerable part hit open spaces. I tend to think this is caused by the use of relatively old missile models. For Iran, it is just right to take this opportunity to use up the old missile stockpiles and replace them with new ones. In a sense, this can be understood. The key is how to fight when the real earth-shaking moment comes. The disadvantages of the missiles of the aerospace force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are as follows. First, the warhead is too light and lacks special warheads for attacking airports. The Jihadar and Emad series of ballistic missiles used by Iran generally have a warhead mass of around 700 kilograms. while the warhead weight of the Fatah 313 series of ballistic missiles has long been maintained at around 450 per kilograms. It is estimated that the effective filler weight is only 300 kilograms. In contrast, the typical medium-range ballistic missile warhead weights of other major missile powers are above 1 ton, and the warhead weights of medium short-range ballistic missiles are around 800 kilograms. At the same time, the explosive detonation velocity of the loaded explosives is higher, the power is stronger, and the killing effect is nearly 2 or 3 times that of Iranian ballistic missiles of the same level. The primary task for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in the future is obviously to increase the warhead weight of its missiles. If you want to bomb airports, you would be embarrassed to greet others without a warhead weighing 1 ton. Fatah ballistic missile. In addition, Iran's ballistic missiles seem to have deficiencies in warhead configuration. Most of the ones currently used seem to be common high-explosive warheads. After being fired, the explosion effect is relatively single and it ends after the explosion. However, to effectively strike hangars, penetrating warheads need to be equipped to penetrate the solid structure and cause damage to the internal targets. To strike runways, anti-runway warheads are needed to damage the runway facilities and prevent aircraft from taking off and landing. For pilot dormitories and rest areas, if a combination of fragmentation, incendiary, and mine-laying warheads can be used, perhaps better strike effects can be achieved. In this regard, the aerospace force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard clearly still has a lot of room for improvement and must focus on improvement in the future. Just like the Shah AB-3 ballistic missile, if the warhead configuration can be more diversified and professional, its combat effectiveness may be significantly improved. Secondly, the long reaction time of Iranian ballistic missiles is also a prominent problem. According to the situation reported by the U.S. side, the U.S. Space Reconnaissance Forces had already detected the movements of the Iranian missile forces at least 2 hours in advance. 2 hours. Especially the clear intelligence feature of starting to refuel liquid fuel ballistic missiles. Such a long time is enough for the Israeli Air Force bases to evacuate personnel and equipment. Therefore, when the Revolutionary Guard claims to have shot down 20 F-35s, it is really hard to be convinced. There is clearly an element of propaganda in this. Therefore, what the aerospace force of the Revolutionary Guard needs to do is to further shorten its own combat preparation time, especially for the case of using solid fuel ballistic missiles. It should be possible to not need to mobilize to occupy the launch position. After the missile is driven out of the cave depot, it can be quickly erected and launched, compressing the combat reaction time to within 20 minutes. And the entire cycle of forming the kill chain should also be compressed to within 30 minutes. If it can coincide with the time when the Israeli Air Force Base is implementing large-scale preparation, then there may be an excellent opportunity like the Nagamo moment during the Battle of Midway. It may be possible to deal a heavy blow to the Israeli Air Force Base in one wave. For example, if the warhead of the Iranian Fatah ballistic missile can be optimized in terms of reaction time and combat process, its deterrence and actual combat effect will surely be greatly enhanced in general. In terms of personal perception, the 2 missile attacks on the Israeli Air Force bases carried out by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard have a certain meaning of operational iteration. It is gradually testing its own strike methods, testing various strike effects, and verifying the strike after effects of different models of ballistic missiles. All these measures are to accumulate relevant data for the real war when it really starts and make full preparations for possible actual combat in the future. That's about the situation.